things are happening to me.
Exactly. It's not reactive. It's proactive.
It's proactive.
It's like both. Like you can react to anything life throws at you.
Yeah.
Because again, you're in control.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
So let's just start the podcast. Welcome, Faraz. I hope
Thanks for
you're
having me,
enjoying
man.
the chai.
Yeah.
I made that myself, just copying my mom,
Amazing,
my
man.
dad.
I love the thermos too.
Yeah, I know
That's
it's
nice.
the knockoff version of the Yeti.
Oh, okay.
The
Yeah.
Yeti. One day maybe a thermos company will sponsor me or
I have
something.
a Yeti cooler at home actually.
Oh, do you?
It's
Nice.
pretty
Yeah.
neat.
I mean, these are the exact same as the Yeti
Yeah.
mugs, but cost
Yeah.
like it's literally the exact same mug. It's just
really?
branded differently. Walmart bought them, and yeah. Anyways,
Same factory in China.
same factory in
Just a
China.
different
You
logo.
can literally on Alibaba, you can order them, put your
Okay.
logo on them, drop ship them, whatever, right?
No way.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
So
But
you're telling me Yeti they don't have their own patented
Yeti has
technology?
some. No, they don't. It's just some fucking supplier in China, and they brand
No
it.
way.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know.
And that same supplier will sell to other people. Anyways, sorry,
Yeah.
these brown people don't even know what a Yeti is.
So true. So
I'm
true.
gonna spend like $40 on a thermos.
We have
and
that as an
$500
incentive,
on
a
food.
company incentive, and it's like I didn't believe it. I'm like, that's bullshit. Like, why would they give like? It's not like they're just marking that up, $800 cooler or barbecue or whatever. I'm like, it's not real.
That's the only reason you know about it because
Yeah.
you work for a white ass company.
There we go. Yeah, there we go.
Anyway, so let me introduce you because someone once told me I should introduce my guests better. You are a leader, sales leader. You are a, I guess, team builder.
Team builder.
How would you describe yourself?
Yeah, I would say that team builder, recruiter. I'm in the
Businessman,
of
yeah.
changing lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, a businessman, like becoming a businessman. To
Yeah,
be
yeah.
honest, like I got into business mentality and actually realizing that I'm in a business properly, legitimately, probably in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
So becoming a businessman, entrepreneur, but so far, yeah, just recruiter, leader, team builder. Family man.
And as we speak, there's a, what is this, a Rolls beside us?
Ooh, damn.
One day, right? Now?
I
That's
could
a
I
Bentley,
could lease
sorry.
it.
You could
I
lease
could
it.
find it.
Yeah.
Not saying I could pay cash.
And you're
for that.
very successful at the things we do, the things you do, sorry. With your company, you've changed a lot of lives. You've
Thanks,
made a
bro.
lot of people successful. I made a bunch of money.
Thanks, bro.
Working with you. I had a good time. I
You did
learned a
pretty
lot.
well in a short amount of time, actually.
Yeah, for the amount of effort I put in, I
Yeah.
did pretty well. And not only that, it's just like those skills I learned. It's funny, like the sales flow.
Yeah.
I literally use it with my clients. It's effortless now. I walk them through the sales process, and it's like, and it's because it's such an authentic sales process, right?
Absolutely.
It's just you learn so much; it becomes a part of you. Like I can tell when people are selling to me. I was
Yeah.
talking to one of our old colleagues, Taha, the other day.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Yeah, this girl was trying to sell me," and he's like, "Yeah, I instantly knew like all her like the questions he was asking, whatever." And
Yeah, the
he ended up getting her
prospective
number. But
questions, and then that's trying to assume. It's
Exactly.
funny, man. Once you've learned sales, you see how like sales is everywhere. A lot of people that believe they're not salespeople, all their life they go through getting sold, and they don't know they're being sold. And it's not just people assume like sales is like buying or selling something, but by sales, like for me, I feel like what I'm really good at is just having my way, right? And a lot of times it's not getting money; it's getting what I want,
yes.
right? Breaking rules, breaking
You
the law, whatever.
realize reality is negotiable.
Absolutely,
Right.
That's a good way to say it.
My
There we go.
brother who got it from another friend,
Yeah.
the like a quote I like is everything
Yeah.
like rules are written in pencil.
Yeah.
Meaning they can be erased.
There we go.
Yeah, so I think the things I find most impressive about you and why I wanted to interview for this podcast were the fact that you went from, just broke ass university student like all of us who had no clue what you were doing.
Yeah.
You decided to take a chance, walk away, which is really hard to do when you're at a good prestigious university, pursuing a prestigious degree,
Yeah.
University of British Columbia, science, whatever. And you decide, fuck it, I'm gonna do this sales thing.
Yeah.
You made a bunch of money.
Well, it actually wasn't sales. It was nothing. I just decided I'm not.
Oh, you don't want to do this. That's even
Yeah.
braver, right?
It's not like I
because there's
had-
no viable
Yeah.
alternative. It's just
Yeah.
like you're just like I know I don't want to do this,
There we go.
right?
Yeah.
You stopped,
Yeah.
especially when you're 3 out of 4 years in, or
Yeah.
something like that, right?
Four. I did
You
up
did your
until
fourth year?
4 out of like I spaced out my degree, so it would have taken me 5 years, but I did 4 years. I stayed until April 2014. We started the same time in 2010.
Yeah. We should have graduated.
But by
year.
that fourth semester, I was only taking, I believe, 3 courses, and I decided to drop out right before the finals. I didn't show up for the finals. I was like, fuck this.
It's funny. That's hilarious.
Because
Dude,
my
that's nuts.
game plan was to probably because the finals before I actually did really well. I ended up doing better, bouncing back. Like, you know, I was getting by second, third year with like, you know, upper 60s average. So I was like, obviously, like my character, my identity took a hit because in high school I'm like 98, 99 average, right? But for me at that point, it was just I did well the semester before, but the trade-off was like I did Adderall like a couple times, I think 3 or 4 nights, and I started smoking a lot of cigarettes just during the studying process, just to deal with the stress, anxiety.
So just not good habits.
Yeah, not good habits. And then after that exam period, after 2-3 weeks of studying, I remember smelling myself, and I probably didn't shower for 2 or 3 days, and I remember after smoking, it's probably like 4 or 5 a.m. I don't even know, and I smelled myself, and I smelled like a hobo. Right? I remember that, and I quit smoking after that. But that final, I just remember I had only 2 courses. It was a comp sci, it was Python course.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
Python introductory, whatever, and one other course. And it probably would have been easy and whatever, but I'm like, this trade-off, like the next 10 days I'm gonna cram, and I'm probably gonna get an 80, 90, whatever, but I'm not gonna retain anything, because I knew like my memory started taking a hit by the end, because of, I didn't know this, but I know for a fact now, all the stress and anxiety that I was going through my degree, my memory took a big hit, and I was kind of forgetting like things, and just different kind of just in my bladder, drinking all the caffeine, going to take a piss like every 30 minutes. I just remember thinking, okay, yeah, trade-off's not worth it. Fuck this. I'm not going to show up to the
unhealthy,
finals.
right? You just felt unhealthy.
And I got sick a lot. I was getting sick all the time, bro. I couldn't figure it out.
You realized it was because you were trying to like do something that you're not meant to do.
Why am I getting ear infections all the time? Right? Like I always, from a young age, I always got ear infections. So like when I was stressed or whatever, I get ear infection like once a month. I would go to the doctor. I can't.
It's brutal, man.
Yeah, it was really bad.
I didn't realize it was that bad. I don't think we were like that acquainted at that time, because our paths kind of diverged to a different degree.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't know. Yeah. And it reminds me of my own kind of journey. I remember writing in my journal once, like in 4th year, that nothing is worth sacrificing my peace of mind. Meaning, I'm never gonna stay up late cramming for anything. I'm never gonna from now on. Yeah. Like if I fuck up, and I'm not gonna cram, I'm not gonna do any of these things that are like band-aid measures. I'm not gonna sacrifice my health, nothing. Yeah. Like I'm gonna get 8 hours of sleep, whatever, right?
Yeah. I agree with that.
Actually, my grades got better.
Yeah. When you
overall, because I just,
Bro, I never understood think about it now. I thought I was a good exam taker, because throughout high school I killed every exam, even if I had to cram, whatever. But high school is pretty easy, right? So we can't even compare that. But when you get to high level, like university, high level academics, your nutrition, your sleep quality, all that has to take a big effect into your exam writing. And I never even thought that was important. Just being on a McDonald's diet, just junk food, not sleeping, cramming for 7 days, being on Adderall. It wasn't like a lot of people are just addicted to these prescription drugs, right? I probably used it just that one exam season before, and I did well with it, and it scared me. And I was like, I'm selling my soul. For me, I don't mind staying up, cramming, doing whatever, as long as it gets me what I want. And when I realized, I thought about it, I was like, all my friends that want to go into med, they're gonna do some bullshit hours at some hospital doing shit they don't want to do just to look good on the resume.
Doctors are some of the most unhealthiest people during their
They're some of the most, there we go, right?
Which makes no sense, but
they're not leading by example, right? So I thought about that. I thought about all the money, the loans. I'm like, wait, I'm already in debt. I hate being broke. I want to give back to my family, and I'm expecting to be more broke, take out loans eventually. So I'm like, that part doesn't make sense, and I'm doing it. And I heard a story about Taraj's friend. I think we were talking, and like he didn't get in even though he had like a really high GPA. So I thought, like, wait, so now I could actually do what they want me to. Go volunteer at a bullshit.
Hoops,
I could get the GPA, and they still might reject me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not down for that. I remember thinking of that. I'm like, I'm done with this doctor bullshit.
You're literally putting your fate in someone else's hands.
There we go.
And you have no fucking clue what they want, right?
So the thing is, like, so many people questioned me at that time, and in hindsight I could say this now, but it's like you just said, right? You're putting your fate in someone else's hand. Yeah. But when you drop out and people are like, so what are you doing? And you tell them right now, like, nothing essentially, right? Like, it's on me. Isn't it better to have your own fate in your own hands versus someone else's hands? right? Isn't it a smart decision that I drop out and I figure out where to take me versus leaving it up to chance? You know what happens?
I mean,
So-
it's like Gary Vaynerchuk's whole thing. It's
Yeah.
like, you know,
Yeah.
self-empowerment. Blah, blah.
He's super anti-school though, right?
I know, he's super anti-school, which is okay. Like,
For me, it changed my life. I think if I didn't have that school experience, I
Yeah.
wouldn't have learned the things that I learned.
something that is so forced and so unhealthy and like
Yeah.
takes that's so much friction
Yeah.
it's probably not what you're meant to be doing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. There we go.
How does that contrast with your current situation? Like, so that's school, something
Yeah.
that you thought you were supposed to do, you know,
Yeah.
everybody does it, whatever, versus
Yeah.
now, like, big prestigious university, hard degree, now you're part of a great company,
Yeah.
not Fortune 500, but Fast Company 50, anyways, they're
Yeah,
doing really
yeah.
well, right? You're part of a great organization, great sales culture. What's the difference? How do you like compare
It's just
those
night
things?
and day, because more than anything, I realize, again, like, we all know this. Well, it's my mortgage broker on there. Why am I running into things? I just realized, again, it's about my life purpose. It's about what's important to me in life. I think we all know that, right? It's kind of like a duh thing. But the system, the way we do life, doesn't allow for us to actually practice that. Like, most of your friends and your circle expects you to get a regular sort of a job. They expect you to go through the school thing. Like, there's there's kind of just expectations, right? So for me, the biggest thing that's changed is I'm just in an environment. It's not even my company is amazing or anything. I think what's changed my life is that my company and my job is so different. It's so unique, right? And if you want to be an outlier, all my life I wanted a big life. I wanted to be an outlier. I wanted to have outlier success. So if I'm not doing outlier things, how am I going to get outlier results, right? So that it's really that. It opened my eyes to, like, holy shit, I would have never imagined knocking doors and making that my mini career or a current career for the last 5 years running. And the fact that it's been the vehicle that got me to the life I wanted to live. So now I'm just like in that process of unlearning everything that I learned up until like 22. I'm like re-questioning everything and just opening doors. I feel like I found myself again, because I'm more like the person I was when I was younger. And then, you know, when you're growing older, when you go through university, you kind of become like people around you.
Yeah.
And then I guess
You're coming back to your like true nature.
True nature.
You're finding yourself in a way, like you're finding who your true self
Yeah,
is,
so
because
like
you're not influenced
gimmicky
by,
to say that, but yeah, I would say I'm finding myself.
you're
for sure.
finding, I mean, you're discovering.
Yeah.
It's funny because one of the oldest sayings in like Western culture is "know thyself," and that's
Yeah.
from like, I think it's like
Yeah.
a maxim at like some Greek
Yeah,
monument from like thousands of years ago.
absolutely.
And
yeah.
Socrates said, like, know thyself, and if you don't know thyself, all other knowledge is pretty much useless.
There we
Right.
go. Self-awareness is key.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's huge.
So the difference, I guess, is when you're on a path worth pursuing, right? It shouldn't be that painful, like university was.
Exactly. I mean,
It can definitely teach you something, and that's
Yeah.
when you look at it in retrospect.
Yeah.
Everything will teach you.
yeah.
But like now, the difference is that you're part of an organization and stuff. It should be like, it shouldn't be easy, but it should be
It should-
enjoyable at the same time, and it should also.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, like, it's so tough to describe this, but there's just got to be a pull factor, right? So if it's
What
like,
pulls you in? to
so
this?
my first couple of years doing, like, getting into the business side of my industry, like building teams, recruiting people, literally like telling people, yeah, quit your job where you're making a guaranteed 50 grand next year and come with me and potentially make 80, 90, or potentially make 10, right? So I'm like recruiting you to take a big risk with your life on this company and on this career and move out of province. So I'm in that, I got into this industry where I'm like, literally there's so much responsibility. I like to take responsibility, right? So I'm like, I know what I'm doing matters quite a bit. It matters, like,
So the difference is that you have like a real skin in the game.
yeah,
Or-
absolutely. I
yeah.
think your
And you
decision,
have the power to make an impact.
there we go. And I think
You
it's
have a lot
really
of
just that.
ownership. Right.
There we go.
There's
Yeah.
not much ownership in a
Yeah.
degree or most people's jobs, I think. Right.
Exactly.
You can like force. Yeah.
Exactly. It's, again, but here's the thing, it's what you make of it, man. It's your perspective around it. So some people that have a degree go to school, some people are doing it right. They're going for a purpose. They're getting what they want from it,
Mhm.
right? Like guys like Mark Cuban, he went to school, he did well, he had a bar on campus and just he did it right. So
but
for
again,
me,
he wasn't going through it because he felt he had to. He did it to go make the most of it.
Exactly.
I think that's the difference.
Yeah. So I would say again, going back to the question, like the pain part, like I had more pain building my first couple of years in business versus at school. But there was a pull factor. I wanted the pain. It was getting me where I wanted to go. It was part of my path. It was, I don't even know how to describe it, but it was the toughest years of my life. But there was so much pull.
It was intentional.
It was intentional, 100%.
Yes.
Whereas before it was painful, and there was no intent.
You had no fucking clue what was gonna happen, right? It's too ambiguous.
I didn't know, right? I was like, I really want this?
I think it especially plagues young men because young men, they need a purpose.
Absolutely.
They can't just toil pointlessly.
Absolutely.
Right? And I think it's specific to young men. I don't know why. It's just they need to have a greater mission they're working towards. And that kind of brings us
more, man.
to one of the talking points you want to discuss is mission. Having a mission in life, finding your why.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about that. So what's your why?
So my why, I mean, there's quite a few things, but here's why I think it's important, because making those decisions to drop out, making those big, life decisions, they only became apparent to me once I thought, okay, what's more important, my occupation, my career, what city I live in, who my friends are, is all that more important, or what I'm here to accomplish and what I'm gonna be remembered for when I die, right? Death is a big thing, because just growing up in Pakistan, big family, I've experienced a lot of death and a lot of early age death, young cousins, young uncles, aunts, all that kind of stuff.
Death?
So yeah, just death, right? So for me, I've always been worried about just death. Like I could die anytime. So I'm like, I need to, like, there's always been an urgency. I've had an urgency. Like I need to do it sooner rather than later, right? So life mission, I think for me, when I figured out, okay, when I actually took the time to write it down, and that part's key. Like I really got into journaling and I started writing things down. I'm like, all my writing, if I read it back, I'm like, what's more important to me is things like, my family, travel, having freedom, going to experience things, making sure my parents, in their 60s now, live a good life now, because that's it's not going to be the same if they're 70 and 80 as it is now.
They're still young and they're healthy. And
so when I took all those things into consideration, I'm like, this plan of wanting to be a doctor, this plan of going to science, this plan of being in a ton of debt, like it doesn't make sense for me. And the other thing I learned, why I decided to also have my podcast and blog and things, is you're not going to get good life advice from school teachers and counselors all the time. They're just going to give you academic mind, but they don't know you. If like only you know yourself, your closest friends don't know you, your mentors, which very important to have. But you need to figure out what you want to accomplish in life. You need to have urgency, you need to have deadlines, you need to have certain time, you need to meet certain expectations by. And when I put that on paper, I'm like, yeah, okay, financial freedom was a key thing. Getting my family, myself out of debt, helping cousins and family back home in Pakistan. Those were things that were important to me. I'm like, based on my current plan, if I continue with this med school, switch out of med school, get into law, business, whatever, how am I going to accomplish?
I think that's the key thing, that you sat down and you took the time to figure out what you wanted. Absolutely. Right? What do you want out of life? Most people, they're like, I want to become a doctor. Yeah. What they don't realize is that they're going to become a doctor when they're like 30 years old.
Yeah. What does that mean though? What do you mean being a doctor? But you just do that for your work, right?
Yeah. I know. Right? But again, for them, it means everything, right? It's a whole lifestyle. Like they have the money, whatever. But I'm like, I don't want to be fucking 30 and then start making money.
There we go.
I was like, this is retarded. That doesn't make any sense. Like I would rather create something now and enjoy while I'm in my 20s. Why would I want to wait till I'm 30 something and then have to, not only that, you're still trading your time for money. Yeah. Right? It's like goes against every financial law. It's like you want to create passive income, whatever. I'm like, I would never want to do, and like what? I'm going to, like the way doctors work is you open up clinics later and whatever, right? Yeah. I'm like, that's such a long timeline. Second of all, I'm interested in like preventative health, not giving people medication.
There we go. See, that part's key too. What are you actually passionate about?
So people got to sit down and figure out what they want. Most people never take the time again to know thyself. Like you need to sit down and really understand who you are, what you're drawn to, what your strengths and weaknesses are. Even Gary Vaynerchuk always says, like, stop spending time on things you're not good at.
There we go.
Right? You could do them on the side or whatever, but go to your talents.
There we go. And your career should be something you're talented in.
Should be something
your
you're talented in.
specialty,
You can
right?
leverage that, right?
But what's key is not even sitting down and writing. I think for me, it was just visualizing my actual life. Why I asked you, like,
imagine.
What do you mean by being a doctor? Because anytime in the past, pre-2014, if someone asked me what I want to be, I would have said doctor, right? But that's why there was no pull factor, because I didn't even visualize the life of a doctor, right? So
you would sit there and you would think, okay, what do I want my life to look like?
When I started traveling and getting out there and meeting people, obviously knocking doors, you sell people, you sell high-level doctors, you sell middle-class people, you sell people that
So this happened
credit.
after you started doing sales?
Well, I moved to downtown. And that was a rash, kind of irrational decision because I'm in student loans. I wanted to get away from my house. I wanted to get away from my family and just my environment.
That's understandable. Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So it was actually like that. I credit that. That was probably the second, like, dropping out, which again, I didn't completely drop out. I said I'm taking a gap year. I think if you asked me, Rahul, most of my friends were like, I'm just taking a gap year. So that was the first decision I made. Second one that was important and key was moving downtown. So I have 36 grand in student loans and I'm taking on another 20 grand yearly expense I don't need if I live in my parents' basement. But it was just, it was a pull factor. I don't even know what I needed. It was a pull factor. The key is I started listening to myself and my instincts. My instincts told me I need to be in downtown, and that's when I learned the key of visualization. Again, I only
that's like
know
listening to your gut.
Exactly.
Right.
Listening to it. So all these strategies, I only say that in hindsight. Like, if someone asked me then, like my manager at Bell, at the cell phone store back then, asked me, so why are you moving out? And I don't remember what I said to him. So clearly I didn't have a plan, right? Now in hindsight, I could say that it's because I was in downtown, I was around the Lamborghinis, I was around a good environment, healthy people, going on jogs along the seawall, healthy living, organic food store right across the street from me, convenience store even, and serving organic food, like just what you're around, right? So
sometimes things don't make sense on paper.
There we go.
Right?
Yeah.
But you're drawn towards it. And financially it won't make sense, your family friend, but if you like viscerally feel like you need to do it, to expose yourself to something only you can understand, you owe it to yourself to try, especially if you're young.
I was watching Jeff Bezos' TED Talk, and that's one of the things he said. He's like, the most important decisions, the ones that change your life, change your business, change everything, are not the ones where you sat down, you planned it out, and they were rational. They're just ones that came to you. They were instinctual. They were just in the gut and the heart, and you went with it.
Yeah, I know too many people tell me stories of where they had this thing and they wanted to, but then they just, they got afraid and they didn't want to do it.
Well, think about it. As a rational person, like I like to think I'm even more rational now. So if a young kid came to me for advice and he's like, Faraz, I'm 36 grand in student loans. I actually didn't finish the degree that I spent all that student loan money on, which I didn't really. I was helping out my family with the money. I was working on the side to pay for my degree. But anyways, I'm in 36 grand with student loans. I haven't finished the degree yet. And I want to just take a gap year and take on 20 grand more expenses to live in downtown Vancouver for no apparent reason.
I just feel like doing it, yeah.
Would I tell that kid reasonably, like, yeah, do it?
You'd be like, no, that sounds retarded.
Right? So,
yeah, but
so that's
everyone
the thing.
would.
So even like people ask me for advice, a lot of people tell me I'm good at giving advice because I've learned from myself, like from my experience, all my success wasn't like someone told me to do something. I listened to myself, and it was at times irrational decisions, but they ended up changing my life. So before any good advice you get from anyone, you have to listen to yourself before them.
I think the key difference and the reason why those irrational decisions, seemingly irrational, were fruitful for you and me in numerous cases is because you had a good kind of intention at the bottom of it. You didn't want to go and party and just have fun. You're like, I just want to figure things out, right? If people want to move downtown and take those extensions just because they want to fuck around, then they'll probably have a negative return on their investment.
People don't realize they're dishonest with themselves. People will have stories in their head, and like it's so true. I know I've lied to myself for years about certain things. I've had stories in my head, like stories of I don't do cold showers. I'm not a cold water type of guy. That was all stories in my head. That just became part of my identity, right? So the second part to that, like the decision. A lot of people like me and you and a lot of successful people, we're intentionally living So no matter what the outcome of the decision is, because we're the ones making the decision, we're able to pivot. So we're able to eventually get what we want because we're the ones in the driver's seat, right? If you're in the driver's seat, you know where you're going. You're the best, like you're in the seat for a reason, right? So you can pivot. You make the wrong turn, but now you can't look at the passenger guide like, which way do I go? You know, okay, which way do I got to turn now to come back into course?
That's true.
Right? So it's really just that.
Yeah, the control aspect is definitely something that separates, you know, good irrational decision from bad one.
And we have, again, this control is not just your friends, your family, but it's the little things, right? So mostly yourself. It's mostly the stories in your head and the subconscious control. I think my life is different now because every aspect of my life is different. Who I am, the type of personality I am. Before I would be classified as an introvert. Now I'm classified as an extrovert. Before I was terrified of dogs. Now I've had a dog and, you know, I had to give him away. Before I was terrified and thought cats are disgusting. Now I have a cat, right? Like all these, I was scared of cold water. Now I take cold shower all the time. Like
most people don't realize what they're capable of and what things are false parts of themselves and what are true, right? You really have to you just have to pursue like your gut and try different things if you feel drawn to them, right? Because you would never discover this stuff otherwise.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I guess that was, you moved downtown, so that was part of finding your why while you were discovering it.
Getting away from my circle, getting away from my, even as far as, so I was working at Bell at the time and doing cell phone sales. I was making 11 an hour, and after commissions I was probably making around 30. And then Rahul got me a referral, my friend got me a referral to Apple Store. And I was making $18 an hour. That's what they offer me. And then, so even like making the decision to take a $12 an hour pay cut just because I didn't want to go to Guildford and go in the bus and see homeless people and go to Surrey. So I'm like, wait, I got away from Delta and Surrey to be in downtown Vancouver and to be in this environment. So I don't want to go back. So I made that decision just based on the environment. That one I know is like, that's why I made that decision to quit. And because I knew of a door knocking job that I was going to do that summer that was going to make me tens of thousands. So I'm like, whatever I lose, it's like negligence.
You just knew, no matter how pointless, how weird these decisions are, you knew that it was going to work out. Right? You knew in the end that you were going to figure shit out and you were going to be successful. You just didn't know how. Well, but you knew that.
I can't say that because I started making decisions for myself in 2014. So I can't say I knew. So I could say now I know. Now I know. It's 2020.
But it felt right?
It felt right.
It felt
well, again, I did it.
In your head, it didn't make sense, but it felt right, like in your gut, in your heart.
There we go. To me, it did feel right, and I was like, yeah, this is what I'm doing. And what felt right for sure was that, hey, I'm making this decision, and I owned up to the fact that I wasn't living my life completely on my terms, and that I was actually one of those people. I'm influenced by others. I want to please others and my family, and a little too much.
It's hard to break away from that.
It's hard,
especially in South Asian Indian culture.
Even my friends, like I had tough times leaving certain jobs just because I was like, I like the crew here, you know, but not enough where I didn't leave. So that's why my heart aches for a lot of my friends and people. I'm a recruiter, and I see people's resistance to change all the time. And my job is to break their resistance, to open them up to infinite possibilities. So I see that, and my heart literally breaks when people, I know, like, it's judgmental, but I've done this long enough to usually know the trajectory. And it's crazy. Like I can predict. I'm like, okay, this guy's not taking the job because I know of a serious relationship that he's in, and he just got in this 2 months ago. And I could see his girlfriend's Instagram, and I could tell she's on my taste of, you know, women. She's like 9 out of 10. So you know, us guys and men and just humans in general, you know, we have our urges and needs, and I feel like, okay, he's got in his head a comfortable, good situation with a nice girl. And I see the need for a woman, you know, take priority over a potentially life-changing career, and my heart actually aches. It actually hurts. It pains me. Right? But it gives me a lot more. That's why I have so much awareness over everything in my life is in my control, because those guys just don't realize what they get next. I follow up, man. I make sure to check. I go on the dude's Instagram a year later. He's not even with the chick. She's with another dude. He's doing some labor work, whatever. He's, you know, unhappy. He's making posts that sound kind of suicidal, depression, whatever. And my job, man, I truly feel like I'm in the business changing lives. People reach out to me, and
I mean,
it's my,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I understand. I had to make that choice when I came work with you guys.
Yeah.
Right, I was in a stable relationship, and I was like, this is gonna be hard on the relationship. Like, I'm gonna be gone for
Yeah.
most of this 5-6 months.
yeah,
Right, and you gotta there's a book that I recommend to everyone. Rahul read it, our first podcast guest, and it's your for this. He wrote it for men, but it's your purpose must come before your relationship. Right.
that's a book.
That's a chapter in the book.
Oh, okay.
It's
Which
called
book
The
is
Way of the Superior Man. And actually, that
of the
guy, he did I think you guys went to his talk, David Dita, Man Talks.
Oh, really?
I don't know if you guys ended up going, but Austin was like giving people tickets, or I think they were sold out.
we went.
David Dita?
Yeah,
Bald
I
guy,
remember.
maybe?
Yes, there were a few, like there was
Yeah.
like 5 or 6 speakers there.
Okay.
But Man Talks, the founder of Man Talks,
I
is
was gonna
actually
ask
my
you
personal
about him,
coach.
actually. Is he?
Yeah.
Connor Beaton or whatever his
Yeah.
name is? Dude,
Yeah.
it's funny because I started following Man Talks like,
Yeah.
I don't know, 2014, around the same time, like when I
Nice.
started getting all this, and
He was my manager at Apple. I left for Vivint. I heard a month later that he left Apple full time because he
Started
turned
his thing,
full time Man Talks. He was already running Man Talks for like a year.
yeah, he's had some good guests.
So yeah, we went to that event, and yeah, that name rings a bell. And that book I remember because I saw it on Rahul's Instagram.
That's a great
The
book.
Way of the Superior Man.
Yeah, you gotta read that. I recommend every young man and woman.
Yeah. So what you
reads
said?
that
So
book.
the man that puts
Your purpose must come before your relationship. And my purpose at that time was I need to figure out what
Yeah.
I want to do, because I don't know what I was doing at the time.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, I've had enough of this. I was bored.
Yeah.
I think it was personal training, and I was like, I need to, try something else. No matter how hard it is in a relationship, like otherwise you're just gonna be unhappy. It's not gonna work out anyways, man.
Isn't it just like so obvious? Isn't it kind of a duh thing to say? Your purpose is more important than your relationship.
Yeah, it doesn't apply to everyone. Usually,
Why not?
some people their
I
relationship.
question that. Why not? Like, isn't everyone's have a bigger
Yeah.
purpose than their relationship?
But again, it's common sense, but people don't think of it. They think
Yeah.
they treasure certain things too much.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have no idea
But
why.
I think, and again, our society. Yeah, when you do this, you just drive randomly, eh? Or,
Mhm.
Okay. I think our society creates that, right? Like we expect people to have relationships at a certain time and get married at a certain time, and so it's like our purpose, in a sense, becomes to be perceived as normal by others. To just
I think the main thing is that there's so
belong.
many distractions that it'll take people away from doing what they truly want to do, right? Relationships, like you mentioned, is one of them.
yeah, absolutely.
So back to like the whole finding your why.
Yeah.
So you imagined what you wanted out of your life, and that slowly developed as you went through different stages, as you left school, as you moved downtown on a urge, on like gut instinct,
Yeah.
as then you got your next job, that's door-to-door sales job.
Yeah, I started traveling. I started becoming more extroverted.
Yeah.
Reaching out.
So for someone else,
yeah.
finding their why, like what would you like? How would you describe it to them? What would you tell them to do?
So
How would you sum it up in a nutshell?
Yeah, it's always I've been asked
Just-
this question so many times, but it's like, am I giving the true answer? Because like I can only say with so much
How do you start?
confirmation bias.
Just how do you start?
How do you start? So I could definitely say, how do you start, right? Getting away from people, getting away from your circle, getting away from your family. So let's say specific kind of, if you live with your family, if it's mom, dad, your siblings, and everyone in the house, and you're in your 20s, even if it makes sense in your situation to live at home, and it doesn't make sense to have your own place and rent and blah blah, but just find a reason to get out for many months. Right, many months.
Yeah.
A week is not. I'm not talking vacation to Mexico with your buddies. Like, that's, if anything, pushing you backwards more than likely.
So what
right?
you're talking about is getting away from the influences of others.
Yeah.
Unwanted or unwanted, right? Like unintentional or
Absolutely.
intentional.
Maybe
yeah.
now again, like, that's why advice is so tough to give to, because it's who the audience is, right? And maybe your family's really good for you. But if you feel like things aren't going right, then a good possibility is it's the people around you.
Yeah,
And
you
not
need to
because they're
change
bad, not because they're bad or they hate you or any of that. Like, I've always had the best support network, and I can say that because, like, they're still around. Everyone's still around. Like, you've known me for a while. You've seen that I'm friends with everyone that I've been friends with for a while. I probably just have a lot more additional friends now, right? So it's not your friends are bad, your family's bad, but we are so influenced by what's around us. So
You don't even know what we truly want.
exactly. So
Right.
to find yourself more, you need everyone's noise to be less than your own. Like, you have to be selfish. You have to be
So you want to just create some space. So
create some space.
Yeah.
Travel, for me, like, I can't say this enough. Every trip in my life, I've gotten something amazing. And it's, again, maybe it's that intent of I'm traveling with intent. But in my line of like financially, I've gotten recruits, right? Recruits sometimes means thousands of dollars, right, in production, and thousands of dollars to my income, right? And so I've actually.
What do you mean by travel? Travel how?
Like,
how do you consider productive traveling? Because I personally think that I think traveling's overrated the way most people do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're like, oh, I love to travel. I think that's like the stupid, like, I think it's just such a useless thing to say. Like, what do you mean? You just move from one place to the other and you think you're like productive or contributing to society? Like, what the fuck? Like, I don't like the whole Tim Ferriss. If you do vagabonding and stuff properly, it means you're going places and you're experiencing new things and you're literally like challenging and changing and whatever, right? You're exposing yourself to new situations and environments. Most people though, they just go from one place to the other and they're the same.
It's just tourism. It's just like recreational travel.
So what is productive traveling?
So productive travel. So number one, finding your roots, right? For me, the most important trip of my life that I knew is it's really law of attraction, right? Your thoughts, what you desire, that's what you manifest. So the biggest trip I looked forward to was going back to Pakistan after 15 years, right? And I have these stories and intent in my head because I remember that it's always been a vivid story. When I left Pakistan, I was 7 years old. I had the window seat. I remember looking out the window and looking at the city. And at 7, I was wise and I was smart enough to know that I come from a third world country, and now I'm going to like a first world country, and we're going from a poor country to a rich country. So I remember at the age of 7 being the guy that thought like I'm gonna do like great things for my country, thinking on a big scale. I remember, big influences like Quaid-e-Azam, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the founder of Pakistan, Gandhi, freedom movement, politics. I was always into politics, even from probably age of 2, right? So it mattered to me. It was important, influence, giving back, whatever. So the most important trip in my life was when I went back in 2017 after 15 years, right?
So traveling with a purpose.
Traveling with purpose, because I'm going to my roots. I haven't been here in 15 years. And so now I'm not doing travel like I'm at a resort. I'm living in my joint family house. I'm a guy that, like in Canada, I'm like, my company pampers me. Next thing, I'm in my house and I have to squat if I want to, take a dump, use the washroom. If I need to wash my hands, it's a bucket. If I need shower, it's a bucket. At any time, the electricity is gonna go out.
It's humbling, definitely.
And if I need to travel, like no one in the neighborhood that I live, the roads are too narrow, so cars can't really get around too well. So we have to freaking take rickshaws everywhere. So I go so that travel, I think that kind of travel is huge because it's humbling for me. It gives me more perspective. I meet the people I meet. When I'm with my 17-year-old cousins, it's a good step back, because when I'm in Canada and I'm traveling and my company wants to like give me a good time so like they can retain my services, whatever, right? Versus my CEO is trying to recruit me, retain me, and I'm in this Porsche, versus like I go from Porsche last month to like with my 17-year-old cousins in a rickshaw. That perspective paradigm, that's what I mean. So not
sitting on a beach in Central Bay, like freaking
like that bullshit. I think that's a waste of time, waste of money.
Once in a while, you need to decompress, but like if that's what you consider traveling, right?
We know most people are doing those trips just so they can do their throwback photos.
I honestly think people
Thursday.
People go down to Mexico all inclusives. Like I've literally never seen the appeal of that.
Yeah,
I don't think I ever will see the appeal of that.
My first time doing that was this February.
Oh really? You earned it, man.
Mexico.
I think most people again, most people work just the jobs.
I've been working super hard. Time for another Mexico trip, right? I totally get you. But yeah, travel with.
I would travel to experience stuff, right?
There we go.
Like I want to like experience sites, people, new cultures,
people,
food,
population. Like for me, like Thailand, I've gone twice now, and I enjoy the mushroom experience in Thailand on Phi Phi Island.
So what is that? Like you take shrooms?
Yeah, I take a mushroom shake.
Oh, interesting.
And
didn't know about that.
I've had good experiences on that both times. So it's like I'm going there and I know I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna meet some cool people, and I'm gonna network, and not network in a freaking weird cringy way where I need something, but it's just like meeting people has gotten me everything that I need in life, and having good relationships and friendships is probably the most meaningful thing to me. So that's what I do now. So for me, travel gives me an opportunity to meet more people. So that's what annoys me, when people travel in groups and they don't make new friends, they don't learn new languages, they don't look into the history of the place. I search the history. I go on Google Maps. I look at their geography. I look at their SkyTrain networks. I look at their... I'm thinking about business ideas when I travel all the time. I'm working on my ideas list. I'm blogging about psychology and perspectives and paradigms. Like what you said earlier, right? Like when I met you, like the phone thing. A lot of my friends, when I'm traveling with a group, they probably think the same thing. Like, this guy's on his phone even during the trip. But there's so much stimulation, and I'm a very, like, I observe a lot, right? So there's so much I have to capture, and I'm like Tim Ferriss in that I have to write everything down. Mm-hmm. So any idea, any thought that comes to mind, a blog post idea, whatever, just, you know, I love it. Like, so again, just do more of you. When I travel, it's not like...
Be curious.
Be curious, yeah. Be curious. Yeah. Be truly curious. Be open.
I hate it when I go, like, I remember I travel with people and they don't want to, like, they want to eat at McDonald's. I'm like, dude, we're in this country.
Yeah.
Eat the local food, talk to the people, build relationships, right? Like, I think it's just the way you go about your life. Absolutely. Whether you are productive.
How you do anything is how you do everything.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So agree with that. If you give it your all at work, you're gonna give it your all when you're vacationing, and that's the other thing for me. I guess travel, because my travel always comes from a period of like hard work, grind, to like, this is my reward, and I'm at peak state and just feeling, you know, all the most important decisions. Again, the gut instinctual decisions for me, life-changing decisions, have at times come when I've traveled. And I ran into the company and the job that ended up changing my life. 2014, I took a road trip. That's how I ran into this company, by taking a road trip to Alberta, where I ran into this company.
Crazy.
So
it reminds me
so much proof.
It reminds me of I don't know what I read. I think it was on Reddit. Why traveling and meditation they give you similar results, even though it's temporary for traveling.
I'm in a meditative state when I travel.
When you come to a new place, suddenly you're present. You're just receptive to everything. That's what meditation kind of induces you into a state of, right? You're just taking in all the sights and sounds. You're so present, and it's relaxing in a way. And I think that's the reason why I was skeptical of traveling, because I'm like, you can do this sitting at home just by meditating. And so I was like, why do people need to get away? But again, the bottom line is there's a right way, there's a better way to travel, right? And that's, you're not just going to party and whatever.
There's so many other things. I get it. For me, one of the other things is the airport experience. For me, being so ADD, OCD, just insane energy, the plane seat is the only time where I'm forced to be sitting for extended period of time. Mm-hmm. And the amount of productivity that I get, like, I know if I have an 8-hour flight coming up, I know that I'm gonna get the work and ideas and just thought power done that an average person does in like 2 weeks of their regular work cycle.
You take advantage of that.
I take full advantage of that. I've crushed through books and like got so much knowledge from that book just because I'm in a plane. Just, you know, like, you're again, that the fact that it's different. The person right next to you, the plane you're on.
Most people just watching movies and stuff.
I look at people's condition. I kind of, in a sickening way, it makes me happy. I'm like, wow, I'm so far ahead in life. I see everyone miserable, and I'm like, I'm probably the most excited person on this plane. I'm the most happy to be on this plane, and that gives me excitement. Like, I'm the most grateful motherfucker on this.
I think the main thing is that if you want to be an outlier, everything you do must be different, right? You must apply that kind of hungry, curious mindset to everything.
Huge.
Don't think you can turn it off, or, you know.
And outliers are just that. They're different. They're different.
True.
I love, like, talking to someone like you. I love just unique people. Like, you probably have to thought, you're a different fucking guy.
Yeah, I mean, my family knows, and I used to get it a lot. I don't socialize much anymore.
But again, you're yourself, though, right? You're more influenced by yourself.
I'm not afraid to be myself.
There we go.
That's why from the start, like,
I was. I don't know if you do. I don't know. Do you recall first year of uni?
Oh yeah, dude. I was shy until I was like, quote unquote shy. Till I was a shy kid. And then I started working out, whatever, gained some confidence in high school. And then by the time I was like 21, 22, I was outgoing, and but again, I wasn't like at my peak state, which is what we'll talk about later. But from 21 onwards, like some of these practices, intermittent festivals, like I had all these self-growth practices that I was peak state.
Nice. Yeah.
And then I was that for a few years. And then, other stuff happened. But yeah, being different. Don't be afraid to be different. And that comes back to finding your why. Until you find your why and know what you want to do and do things different than other people, you won't be different. right? You won't get outlier results. To be an outlier, you have to figure out who you are.
It's just got to be like
Everybody can be an
intentional,
outlier.
Everyone is an outlier. Like, we're all different.
Yeah.
We all have a different life story, different paradigm,
Most
different
people just don't discover.
circumstances. They just don't discover. You could be. It's not a cliche thing. Like, you could literally become anything you want to become. And like, for me, I'm so addicted to that. Maybe one thing that holds me back is taking too much. I'm very susceptible to being sold by new knowledge too quickly.
Yeah.
So, like, I became a Dave Asprey fan after one podcast, just because he introduced me to a lot of new knowledge, and I'm too grateful for that. I'm like, anyone that gives me a different way of thinking about something, even if it's wrong, right? That's a key thing. Even if it's wrong, because I'm just curious, and if you feed my curiosity, I thank you. Right? That's really it.
Dave Asprey himself has been, wrong about stuff. He actually moved nearby recently. He's on the island.
Yeah, he's in Victoria. I saw his. I was watching his live, and I'm like, called my realtor. I was like, yo, let's get a farm. Let's get a farm.
Ty Lopez and Dave Asprey just could pop farms.
Yeah.
So let's talk about self-growth. You changed a lot from the guy I first met in first year uni, you and Rahul together. You were just, like, if someone asked me to describe you that time, I wouldn't be able to say anything, because you were a little bit quiet. I guess I didn't have the closest relationship with you, but like, there was nothing you were a good guy, like, you're a nice guy. Nothing stood out about you as different. Like, I was the workout guy. Rahul was like the kind of edgy a little bit guy. Like, he but he was still, a good student. What made you change from just a normal dude to the person you are now, where you've changed millions of not millions, sorry. You've made
soon.
You've changed tons of lives.
Hundreds.
Yeah, you've made people millions of dollars. Right? You made your company millions of dollars. You made, if all your employees, if you add them up together, their collective salaries are well over 1-2 million, right?
Oh, like now? Like,
yeah.
Bro, come on, 4 million?
Whatever.
5?
Crazy. I can name, like, your top 10 salespeople alone will easily pull in over like 2 mil or something.
Top 10 guys will be 200K plus average.
You've changed your parents' lives, your friends' lives, your family's lives in Pakistan.
Relatives,
You've educated so many people. You've impacted the community, right?
Thanks, man. I'm getting really flattered here now. List goes on.
So what changed? What was the self-growth stuff, other than the stuff we talked about where you quit, followed your gut, whatever?
So it's what you just said. It's the fact that you didn't know me as someone that's into anything specifically. Like, I didn't stand out to you. And here's the thing, I have always known, I think most special people know we're special. Like, it sounds arrogant to say, but now
you're destined for greatness.
Yeah. I'm destined, and greatness is just a way someone would describe it. I'm destined to do the things that I know.
Bigger.
I know I'm going to do what I'm going to do, right? Some people know they're going to do certain things, whether you
like
perceive it as good.
Self-belief.
Yeah, 100%. Delusional almost, right?
Yeah.
So I've always been delusional about, like, what I'm going to do in life. So I've been dead set. Again, at the age of 7, looking out the window, looking back at Pakistan, and not thinking I'm going to come back and help my family, but thinking I'm going to come back and help my country is just a mindset, right? You're thinking on a different standard. I remember one time my dad told me he wants me to create a hospital, like Imran Khan, who's now the prime minister, right? He had a lot of influence. So when he created the free cancer hospital, I think a lot of Pakistanis were impacted by that. So my dad, one time he told me, create a free, hospital for poor people, like, for free, right? Subsidized hospital. And I remember thinking as a young guy, like, I was probably 12, vivid sign, wow, at the age of 12, 13, that why the hospital? Why not the whole health system?
Exactly.
And I remember having rational thinking even as a young kid, where I'm like, if I just treat like 10 people, 100 people, 1,000 people in a country where millions are like getting, dying, it's making me feel good, but is it truly making a significant difference? So I believe in radical change, radical transformation, radical like impact, right? Like, So
like, for example, being a doctor. We decided to do that, but it's not really enough, right? A doctor would almost be like settling.
Absolutely.
It's right?
You're
not a doctor.
Literally settling on your actual abilities, because there's millions of doctors in the world.
When someone ties himself to a career path, I look at them, I'm like, you don't want more? Like, we have one life, right? Or we have this one life. So you always even wanted more. So
Absolutely.
the whole doctor thing, it was painful because you're like, this is not what I want. I want more than this, actually. But it was just like,
Exactly.
we're afraid to tell other people.
There we
Right?
go.
It's like,
Yeah.
you want more? Come on. Like, doctors are, because
You're not deserving. Well, like,
Yeah, like, that's
back then, if I told, as you knew me as a guy that's not special at anything, if I told you I want to do all these special things, what would you, like, respectfully and reasonably think? You're fucking kidding, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's your duty as a, like, that's how others gonna, like, everyone's always gonna have smaller goals for you, so you have to go lead yourself. You have to believe in yourself more than anyone,
For
right?
self-growth, yeah.
So what changed was that is just, you didn't know me because up till that point of my life, I was just doing what I'm supposed to do, what my friends are doing, what society expects me to do, what mom and dad, what the traditional path to being a doctor is, which is most doctors that I knew was, you know, they did a degree and then they applied to med school, and so most of them got loans, and some of them, you know, put their house up as collateral, whatever, and they ended up getting the freaking thing, and they became a doctor, the residency program. Some of them, if it didn't work out, they went to Ireland or the whatever, St. Martin's, whatever, Caribbean, and then they went that route, and then they paid the loans, and then they practiced in a different country, then they moved. So, you know where I'm going with this. I'm like,
So for people who want to be outliers, yeah, where are you going with this?
it's just, again, you're literally doing yourself a disservice. You're going plan B, C, D.
If you have a beaten path to
if you
follow.
have a beaten path to follow, right? And there's
Some
no
people
point.
are, you know, we do need doctors. I rip on doctors a lot
course,
just because
yeah.
it's my own experience, but
and probably because we're hateful, because we didn't accomplish our initial goal.
yeah, the false goal. But
Yeah.
some people don't just want to be doctors, and they want to be good doctors, and we need those, obviously.
huge,
So follow it 100%. For people who want something great, don't tie yourself to any path, right?
Exactly. It's got to be the life
It
mission.
doesn't matter how good that path looks in traditional society.
Yeah.
You got to have like your own beaten path to follow.
For me, it's like, isn't it like,
Or
just close your eyes and think about, like, just think about potential ideas of 35, 40, 45, 50.
What do you want your life to
And
look like?
I think of so many different ideas,
Me too.
different paths. I get influenced so quickly. I like a country, I'm like, shit, should I be
Move
in
there.
Miami in my 30s, right? Like, should I be in Orange County in my 30s? Should I move there? Like, so, but the key is just visualizing, actually seeing, what do I want my life to look like? What do I want my body to look like? So in the mirror now, especially like the last year and a half, I prioritized my, you know, physical appearance and lifting weights a lot less. It's very important to me because I know I want to live long, but it's not up there. But I feel like I'm getting more results now in the last year and a half just by being intentional with it. Just the fact that it is third or fourth in my priority list. Just the fact that I look at myself in the mirror and I just like, okay, what do I want to look like right now? What am I willing to trade off? What do I want to look like in 2021? And what's the trade-off? And it's like, well, I gotta be disciplined. I gotta, you know, not do this. I gotta not do that. And it's just the fact that I know, okay, I'm getting what I'm supposed to get right now. And what I want later, this is what I'm gonna have to trade off to get it. And where is it in my timeline? Where is it in my plan? I think it's very important to, again, write things down and plan things out and set deadlines, right? The whole person paradigm, that's
Time
huge.
to get to know yourself. Have a vision for your life.
Absolutely.
I think this sums it up. For this podcast, like this specific episode, isn't for everyone.
Yeah.
It's not like my other ones. These are people who want to go beyond the norm. Right?
Absolutely. I'm never gonna give advice to be okay. Like,
Because I can't give advice to someone who just wants to do something that has already been done, because that's not me.
Exactly.
Right? This episode is for people who are unsure of what they want their life to look like. They just want to know they want to live fucking some awesome. They want to be awesome.
big life.
Yeah.
I wanted a big life.
Exactly. And we, you know, it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Not everybody has that desire to, you know, go achieve all this stuff. Some people just want to, you know, quiet life, do this, and that's perfect. I love that too.
Yeah.
It's just this episode is specific for people like us.
Absolutely.
Right? For people like you, Rahul, any like the future guests I have that are like exceptional at
Absolutely.
something, or
Or at
just
least
want
on
to
the
live an
path.
exceptional
Like,
life. Yeah.
I'm just intentional. I don't hide the fact that I'm trying to be great. And I think too many people are afraid
to say that one day I'm going to be great.
to say that they're going to be great and
they
be
don't know.
seen failing.
Yeah.
Right? That's because what's the fear? Why wouldn't you tell people, like, I see a lot of quotes on this too where it's like, oh, don't talk too much, whatever. And that, for me, again, advice is really like who it's coming from and who should be receiving it. That's why it's tough to give advice online.
And it depends what stage you're at.
Yeah, but for me, the biggest thing that held me back in life was not saying it, not asking. Like, bro, I'm cringy. Like, I don't want to ask too much. Fast food workers, I feel like they get paid less and they're not, a lot of them are miserable and happy. I don't want to disturb them to ask them for ketchup sometimes. So I'm like, I know half the time, like, did they put it in the bag? They probably didn't, but I don't want to ask twice because it's like rude. And I don't, and then there's no ketchup in the fucking bag, right? So I'm like, I came from that perspective where I don't talk, I don't ask. And I've gotten everything that I want in the last 5-6 years by talking, putting myself out there, by sharing my plans and following up with them. Like, I think I got so much credibility because I told people, like, I put myself, a lot of people at first thought I was arrogant or, you know, delusional, whatever. I said, this is what I'm going to do. Conor McGregor, my industry is like, this is what I'm going to do. And then when I did it, I had a lot more bang to it because, like, oh shit, this guy literally said he was going to do this when he was nothing. He actually kind of did it.
Yeah, right? There's two kind of schools of thought on that. One, some self-help people say, you know, don't tell anyone, do your plans in secret, suffer in silence. Yeah, because, you know, like, by saying it, you feel like you've already achieved it and then you won't do it. And there's other school where it's tell everyone and then they'll hold you accountable. I think both are wrong. It's just like, you got to do what feels right, because at certain points in my life, I would not tell anyone. And I would achieve it. But this time, I told everyone, yo, like my dad, my mom, I was like, listen, I'm quitting my job. I quit my, it's funny, right, for this Corona thing, I was about to quit my job. I was like, I'm going to go full-time at this personal training thing. I don't know how I'm going to pay all my bills, whatever. I'm just going to fucking do it because I know I'm going to make it work. Right?
Nice.
Sometimes.
I think that's important. Like, I'm on the same boat. Sometimes can't share too much.
Sometimes,
but I think I got my parents on board. When I told them my plan, when I told them what I needed to do to get where I want, then everything came in alignment. So you do, and relationships, who your significant other, they have to be on board with your mission, right? Family planning. I had to, like, for me, that's huge. Like, my family has a plan. Me and my brothers together, we have a plan. My parents and us, we have a plan. We have a financial plan. We have meetings. I think that's key. That's huge.
Yeah, you just gotta have conviction. Let's talk about, touch on peak state a little bit. I've seen you putting a lot of Instagram stories about getting into your peak state, things like that. What is peak state? What do you mean by peak state?
So
how do you achieve it?
I learned of this concept 2019 January at Tony Robbins in Palm Springs. So I can't say I came up with this, but why, like, everyone since that January, like, everyone's like, yo, you're always talking about peak state, Tony Robbins.
I've definitely heard the term before.
You've heard it before me, right? So I became a fan of this in January 2019 just because so much, like, just evidence, so much, like, when I went to it and I learned that concept, I'm like, I could relate because all my life, all the decisions, everything that's happened, this is why it happened. I could tie two and two together, right? You can only look backwards in hindsight and you can connect the dots. So I connected the dots. So by peak state, what I mean by that is, so when I, like, became the best recruiter, right, in my industry, it was on one trip to San Fran, and I've told everyone about this, I've blogged about this, where I just felt that, again, irrational, like, need. I was like, I need to be on this trip. I just, for whatever, it's nothing crazy. We're just going to San Fran. Nothing, right? It's not like crazy resort, whatever. Just with my mentor and another couple buddies, and we were gonna go. And, you know, I hadn't been to California ever in my life, so the only thing, I was a huge Kobe fan, LA fan. I always loved California on YouTube videos, whatever. I always wanted to go Cali, so that was really the only thing, right? But I couldn't find my passport. I decided to go with my brothers. 2-3 hours at the border, 2 hours exactly at the border, and, you know, didn't get caught, whatever. Cops saw, like,
I remember that story.
So you remember the story, but basically I should have been in jail and I didn't, and I got through the border. I did something illegal, broke the law, broke the rules.
Just because it felt right.
Just because it felt right. So I did something, you know, rebellious, and that led to, like, just adrenaline being all-time high and just state being all-time high. So the decisions that I made were, that's, like, I could say, again, when I dropped out of school, I didn't drop out, I just kind of took a gap year and didn't really have a plan, didn't have whatever. But that trip and that specific day and that time on the bridge, Golden Gate Bridge, literally saying it to myself, literally thinking it and telling my brother on the phone afterwards. But when you're in peak state, do something to commit. And I committed because I felt a state, and I committed by telling my brother and everyone around me that I'm not going back to school until I'm, like, super, super rich. Like, I'm talking multi-millions. Like, I don't need school. I don't need my degree. I don't care about people knowing me as a dropout dude. I'm just going to go all in with this company. Mm-hmm. And then, so the next thing that transpired was, I don't usually smoke marijuana much. I probably smoked it 4 or 5 times in my life up until that trip. And that trip, I smoke marijuana. And so I get high. And on that road trip back, I create a WhatsApp group, I call all my buddies, whatever, and I hired most of the studs, or recruited, right? I hate saying hiring. I recruited most of my friends that ended up coming into my industry and killing it, and built a region probably in a day when I was high, and just this trip. So I can only in hindsight say, okay, well, passport, I broke the law, did shit that most of my friends wouldn't do to get into the States for no apparent reason, and just followed my heart, and that led to something else. And I met doctors, and I realized I didn't want to. So why I decided for sure that I didn't want to follow the doctor route is the night before I had In and Out with Ken and his buddies who are doctors, and they just told me their stories and how much debt they have and whatever their situation is, and I didn't want that situation. So tomorrow I was high, I felt it, and I made that decision. I started crying on the bridge, and it was just a state that I've never felt. And so now, once I had felt that, now I've felt that state numerous times. I'm trying to get to that state because I know that's when I make the best decisions. That's when I gain more self-awareness, figure myself out more, and I can go on and on about that.
So as a like from an outsider's perspective, what I like, you didn't really define peak state, but you told me how to achieve it in your words. And what that is kind of like, you just finally took control of your life. You were finally in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
You lived life with balls. You lived life aggressively. You took a risk, right?
There we go.
You didn't take no for an answer kind of thing. You just did what you feel you had to do, no matter the consequence, in a way.
Sweet. Yeah.
And you have
Right
a good heart and good intentions, so it's not like you're gonna go to jail for a violent crime or something. It's these things that are just they're risky to you, right?
Yeah.
But you did them anyways.
Exactly.
So this, to me, like, back to that book again that I recommend. He has a chapter called "Living at Your Edge." You're just living at your edge, meaning you were pushing the boundaries,
curiosity, experiencing things, breaking the law, breaking rules.
You were in complete control and acting with full intention.
Full intention. Absolutely.
And that puts you in a state where everything just started lining up. Right, and you're half of you is like kind of flying by the seat of your pants, right? Like where you're like half on the seat.
I probably pissed my pants.
Yeah, right. But at the same time, that's like how life, when you live it like that, the universe kind of grants you what you want.
Absolutely, I definitely am a big believer in law of attraction, peak state. Again, you're gonna do your best work when you're feeling the best. Like, think about it. It's like when athletes get in the zone, right? What does it mean to be in the zone? Sometimes, every athlete can relate. Like, if you're a ball player, you just know when you're going to make the shot. You already know it's going in the moment, like before you even take it.
You're just consciously living.
So that's in life, I think, because in sports it's easy because it's like a definable goal. There's the guest team, home team. I'm in the home team. This is my team. I got to beat them. It's me against, I have to be selfish. So in life, peak state is like intentional living. I'm selfish about my cause, selfish about what I want. To other people, I might come off as like too greedy or workaholic, or just kind of like the whole networking thing, right? It could come off as like, oh, this guy's just trying to get what he wants, but that's really what peak state is, just intentional.
Just not giving a fuck.
Not giving a fuck.
Doing what you want.
Yeah.
Right?
Not giving a fuck about others, but giving a lot of fucks about your plan.
Exactly. I mean, not giving a fuck about things I shouldn't be giving a fuck about.
There
right?
we go.
Acting irregardless.
Absolutely.
Being uncompromising in a way. Right? For like being uncompromising with what your ideals are.
It's also the realization that, again, we have to realize everything about our lives right now as humans is designed. It's from collective knowledge that we've gained as a species, but we could have gone different routes. Right now we're driving in a car, right? But it could have been a helicopter society. Right now, a lot of our space is used for roads. Maybe we could be in a country where it's mostly for pedestrians and less roads. So that's like every little thing, right? We spend a lot of phone time and our work is online, whatever. So all these things affect us now as humans. So it's really kind of that Joe Rogan approach of like, remember, we're monkeys, right? On a freaking ball spinning around. That's what I mean. Like every morning when you take that cold shower, when you take that plunge, when you just it's just
reality is manipulatable.
Absolutely.
Right? It's not like you're bound to something. Everything has been designed and created in a way.
Could have said it better. Reality is manipulatable. That's
exactly.
It's how you perceive. Like right now, we're not looking at the same thing, right? Like it's the same image, but how we perceive it is completely different. So,
and again, it's just like when you have that realization, it's like a deep-seated realization that's kind of like in your center, in your heart, where you're like, I can do whatever the fuck I want.
Absolutely.
Right? And then you just do it even though there's risky, whatever, you just end up in that peak state. So by peak state, you kind of mean like flow state. Like you're living life in a state of flow as well, right? You're fully engaged.
Absolutely. Okay. I think what you said earlier, intentional living is probably the best way to describe it. Is just I took full ownership of my decisions in my life, what's going on in my life. Again, it wasn't just that trip, right? Making investment decisions, making business decisions. I'm a business person, so when do I make the most important business decisions? When do I decide, okay, this percentage of my income this year I'm going to invest in this category? When I'm traveling, and it's set aside. I know, and usually for me every year it's my Pakistan trip now. The last 3 years after the summer I go to Pakistan, and Pakistan is like my, I have Sunday planning that I learned from my mentors. I plan, not always on Sunday, sometimes Saturday, Monday, whatever, but weekly planning. But Pakistan's like my yearly and long, it's kind of like coming full circle. I was born here, and this is my family. I'm in this joint family house with no water, no electricity, and I was born here. So even though I was on the CEO's jet, 5 months ago I was on the jet and I was like first class living, and now I'm here and there's no running water and electricity. So it's my grounding space. So I come here to make important decisions in my life, and I've made radical. So last time I went there, not this last time, but the one before, the biggest decision I had to make was, okay, what am I going to invest in? Now I finally, years before, all my money was going towards family and spending a lot of money on travel just to make sure my parents have seen every country that's on their bucket list. So going extra, like on travel and experiences. Then it was like investments. I'm like, okay, real estate. I was thinking like, okay, real estate. I was reading into more on stock knowledge and index funds, blah blah. And when I went to that trip, the decision I made was I'm going to spend more money by immigrating people and creating pretty much workers. Like I'm going to take talent from Pakistan and anywhere else in the third world, and I'm going to invest in that talent, and they're going to work in my...
Very unconventional investing strategy.
Very unconventional investing
strategy. That wouldn't make sense to anyone but you.
It wouldn't have came to me unless I was on that trip in Pakistan.
Yeah, and it's just about, from what I get from that again, is you got to trust yourself.
Just
self-belief, trust yourself.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay, let's talk about the last couple things you want to touch on. So building relationships. You've always been... The fact that you're successful in this company has been a fact that you can build relationships, maintain them.
Yeah.
What about building relationships do you want to talk about? Do you want to touch on?
That's everything. So the other key that I noticed in my life, kind of to getting success versus when I was miserable and not getting what I want, was just relationships. I make a conscious effort to have really good relationships. Making sure I don't like burning bridges. It's not beneficial. It's not healthy. No one likes it. I am a people pleaser naturally, so it makes sense to me. Okay, I don't want people to not like me. So that just kind of always came natural to me. My dad's always been the type of guy, he sacrificed everything to make sure his brothers are good and family's good, and not really investment and get rich, but make sure everyone around me is fine. So it's kind of bred in me, but I just took it to the next level because I realized when I have good like one of the reasons for me doing shitty in life, being depressed, was just I was taking comfort in a relationship, and I made myself a horrible person in that relationship. I became the type of person that
I wouldn't want to be.
I'm disgusting, right?
Yeah.
So realizing, okay, the common denominator in my life in periods when I wasn't getting what I want to when I am getting what I want is good relationships. And I think because everyone, we say this, right? Happiness leads to success. Success doesn't necessarily lead to happiness. If you're happy, you're probably going to become successful and get whatever you want, right? Whereas just, being miserable and then becoming successful, you're going to become happy all of a sudden by becoming successful, not necessarily the case. So when you kind of go deeper into that, well, if being happy makes you successful, then what's going to make you happy? And literally the longest, my mentor, my VP said this once, and then I found a study that actually literally found it. He's like, he came in 2015, I was in Lethbridge, and he's like, I found that the key to happiness in life is having good relationships. And that was just something Brock said, and that's Brock's quote. And I find a Harvard study one time on Facebook. It's like a 75-year-old Harvard study finds that the number one indicator and predictor of happiness is good relationships, right? So I said that Brock, so he always quotes that, but that's it, good relation. And for me, again, being a people pleaser, following my dad and my mom's example of taking care of people around you, like this brings me more happiness than anything. I like to please people. I like to help people out.
So
I like to be there for people when they're going through a tough time, and that brings me happiness.
So you actively put in a conscious effort into maintaining. You put effort into your relationships.
Absolutely. Check back, and I'm forced to as well because I'm traveling all the time. I don't have all the time in the world to keep up with all the friends, so it's important. Like, hey, the least you could do is quick text, quick call. Let's link up. If I'm in town, let's link up for a coffee. Let's, like it's, and I think our society makes a lot of people, now that I do that so openly, I come across a lot of friends that are too, like, maybe intimidated. They're scared to meet up after 2 years.
I know. So, a lot of people let relationships slide, right? Like, someone's like, oh, this old roommate that I had, oh yeah, we had good times, but they never called them again. It never makes sense to me. Like, I always, and I guess I'm asking if you have the same urge. Like, you'll hear about someone, you'll reach out to a roommate or someone you haven't talked to in a few years, and you'll just get a coffee just for the hell of it, just to maintain that connection. You never know. Before
this podcast, I was hanging out with 4 of my friends that I met in 2004. So we've been friends for 16 years, and we don't work together. Two of them, I saw them after a year and something, right? So that's what I mean. Like, and yesterday I met friends that I didn't meet for many, many months. Like, so it's like that, because I'm always out of town, so I have to make an effort. If there's people that I had good times with, we were best friends for 7 years growing up. We have 7 years of memories. Doesn't that 7 years deserve like one hangout after 2 years?
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like those friends, like it felt like we were just kids. We played at the park we always play at, and literally I feel like we haven't missed a beat. We all talked about it, like it's like literally feels like grade 6 again.
Yeah.
Right?
No, so, I definitely agree with that.
And it makes me happy. I'm in a happy, elevated state, right? Because of good relationships. So having good relationships is a good way to
and your dad taught you that?
Huh?
Your dad.
I think, my dad taught me that.
It's funny. My dad taught me that as well. He's like, why don't he's like, you haven't seen this guy in a while. Why don't you give him a call?
Yeah.
And I'm like that. And before I used to like be like, we're not friends anymore. Like we don't. We have nothing to talk about. This and that. But now I'm just like, he's right. And I was doing it a little bit anyways. I'm like, it's not hard to maintain those relationships.
Absolutely. No, it's huge. I think that's key. If I've got to say anything that's really changed, because the travel and finding work and like making money, I would have figured that out through other vehicles. But when I left and got away from my family, at first I thought like I'm like kind of becoming an outsider, but I came back with more gratitude and appreciation. So more than anything is just the fact, like what everyone says about me, what they love is like, yo, you're so tight with all your brothers and all your friends, and your friends are friends with each other, and your little brother's friends are with your older brother's friends, and like being I love being a connector. I love the fact that I'm the reason that so many friendships have been formed.
People
it's
know
not
each other,
the millions of dollars that have been made in the recruiting part of my job is great, but what's great is I've recruited people, and by recruiting them to my environment, I've created those friendships. I can say I'm the reason why a lot of those friendships exist, and these are lifelong. These are like that impact. So I wanted massive impact, and I've already had massive impact just by being around good people.
So that's actually a talent. I remember reading an article about what kind of intelligence you have in leveraging that. Being able to connect people who you think will get along, whatever, is a talent. The reason I recognize it, and I'm interested in what you're saying, is because I have it too. Yeah. I have so many of my friends I've connected together, and they've had friendships that have outlasted even my friendship with that person, right?
There we go.
If you have that talent, you should use it.
Being a connector.
Last thing that you want to touch on, authentic leadership. So, what do you mean by authentic? We all know what leadership is.
Being completely yourself. I don't, like, if I care about someone and they ask me for advice, I'm not gonna hide things so that I'm cringy. Like, obviously there's some things, right? Like, but I don't hold back. I love if anything, I enjoy talking about like kind of the weird things that have brought me success, my different things, wrong decisions I've made, being, bad relationship, being a bad boyfriend, making the wrong decisions, breaking the law, being an irrational person. A lot of people would be afraid, like, you sure you want to tell people? They're going to judge your decision-making ability. But I'm like, my life defines me. You think where I'm at right now is a result of bad decision-making? Mm-hmm. So I believe, like, okay, no, I'm a good decision-maker. This might be perceived as bad decisions, but it's my authentic experience. Mm-hmm. So really being an authentic leader is like, I'm going to truly tell you, like, what I feel, what I think, what got me to my, like, if you're going to ask for advice, I'm going to truly tell you what I feel. So if you're a guy that's, anti-drugs and you never, smoke weed, and you're like, okay, what's like the best recruiting strategy or whatever, like, yo, I like smoking weed before a recruiting call. I get more kind of heightened. I get more kind of, because again, my evidence, the evidence I have when I recruited the most guys, like you said, right, your top 10 earners on average earn 200 plus K, 2 million. I hired like dudes that are making hundreds of thousands. Their lives are changed, their families' lives are changed. And I know that smoking weed and being at that heightened kind of level and thinking the thoughts I was thinking helped me recruit that person and change their life.
Okay.
So that's my authentic experience with weed.
So you think the authenticity gives you, like, why are you so hung up on authenticity? It gives you an edge? You think it's superior to the other? Is there other forms of leadership you've seen? Like, is there something that differentiates?
I'm also very political and cognizant of what's going on in the world. So part of it's kind of like I'm rebellious, right? So I'm like, fuck you to the PC culture. Fuck you to like telling me that I can't say certain, like you said, right? Being at home right now with the virus, not saying certain words. Like, I got in trouble one time in school for saying faggot, right? But when I came to Canada, I'm like, wait, you guys told me this word. I heard this word everywhere when I came. I didn't know English. I came from Pakistan. You guys taught me faggot, and now I say faggot, so I get in trouble?
Yeah.
Right? So I'm that. Someone else, and I'm like, well, you said faggot. It's offensive to me because I'm gay. I'm like, well, fuck you. Take that energy and say it to Canada, because Canada taught me that word when I was just an immigrant
societal
kid.
Change,
right? So for me, I'm just, I don't know. I just kind of, it's just your perspective, being selfish about
just
your
be
cause.
who you are. Like, you shouldn't. Part of being a leader, I guess what you'd say, is to be completely authentic, to be completely you are, hold nothing back, be radically honest,
radical transparency. I
don't
do
be
well in sales with that
judgmental
too.
in a way.
Yeah.
You know, no people are different. Acknowledge their differences.
Yeah. Again, I say that because it's brought me success. Like, I'm a good recruiter because I'm so honest. Like, one of the best things I did was like, okay, like, this is how much money I'm making. This is my pay stubs. This is how much I'm going to make from your production. If you do this well, this is how much you make. This is how much I make. This is how much Brock makes. Like, so just...
Okay, so you have, that's your leadership style. To be authentic. To be open and upfront about everything.
Yeah. Conflict of interest. Like, I'm really good at managing relationships and work, right? I had to, because I'm like, well, for me to be a good recruiter, I could recruit warm network, which is my friends, but I also want to retain them and want to retain the friendship more than the business aspect. So even if the business relationship doesn't last, I still want to be friends with you, right? So it's just that. It's knowing, okay, I want to be a leader. So the decisions I make are not the best business-minded decisions maybe, but the best decisions to give me the outcome of the life that I want.
So what advice would you give to people who want to be leaders or who are gonna be leaders in the future? Like, just
it's tough because I'm in an environment where I'm high leverage, so I can be myself. Like, I would have been fired if I do the things I do in other industries. I would have been fired. So I'm smart with the. I like this environment because I'm like, it gives me the leverage to be myself.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I was with my CEO, who's almost a billionaire. I'm like, the only drug I do is marijuana. Right.
So for leaders of tomorrow, you could say something like, don't be afraid to be yourself and follow things you want to do, and be honest about them.
Yeah.
And that will actually benefit your leadership and bring more people, like give you more people to lead, than if you kind of conform to what you think people should follow, or like an image or something like that.
Just humility. I think being a radical, like radical honesty and being an authentic leader is just humility. Like, if you're truly honest and authentic, like, a lot of shit you should like, I don't fucking know. I don't know,
people
right?
Are
like,
afraid to say,
so I'm fucking really good at like, I don't fucking know, yo, let's figure it out.
Yeah.
And I had to. I was like, the important thing was I was insecure as well because I didn't have successful results in my life up until, in this industry. So I was like, I can't, like, I don't have the credibility. If I'm recruiting a Rahul, again, you would have classified Rahul as way more like capable, whatever, brilliant, intelligent than myself. So if I don't have the credibility to back it up at that point, how do I just pretend to know everything? Like, yo, I'm gonna lead you, right? So it's like, no, I'm not gonna lead you, but I know someone that can lead both of us. It's just finding kind of ways of just being honest. Like, hey, I'm not good enough to lead you, but this guy's better than both of us, and I'm learning from this guy. And if you don't, learn from this guy, and you let me learn from this guy, I'm gonna be far ahead than you are. Just being honest. That was kind of the recruiting approach I took. So that's an example of just authentic leadership. Just be authentic. I'm like, right now, I'm not even deserving of a leadership rank over you. I'm not the leader here. And my title might make me the leader, but you're the actual leader. So and kind of that I think is probably one thing also important is positional leadership versus actual leadership, right?
Yes. So I think that the what you're trying to say is first of all, don't be afraid to say I don't know. Like most leaders try to, like there's some leaders who pretend to have it all figured out.
Yeah.
But no one has it all figured out, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't be afraid to say I don't know.
I think that's even what's his name, Ray Dalio. He was saying that, right? Like on his TED Talk, if you watch it, how they do decision making in their company is they all get to vote on their kind of opinions on things.
Yeah.
But then they also have another thing where they track kind of historical results, like your opinion.
Interesting.
So then they weigh that in, and then that's how they come to a collective opinion. And I watched that TED Talk, I'm like, if I could say something about business success like that, because anytime I've led a team, I've not been the leader. Quite often I'm like, yo man, like,
so it's also collaborative leadership.
Collaborative,
of course.
Teamwork. I'm more of a team worker. Like, I'm only a leader that I'm good at connecting people. So I'm like, everyone, and I'm still the guy where it's like, you wouldn't know what my thing is. Rahul's this guy's that. And I'm just the guy that brings everyone together.
So I've never been put in a role of like pure leadership. And the reason I asked, like, why did you guys, your region or whatever, choose to be called authentic, right? Yeah. How does it differ from other styles of leadership? Is there how you can sum it up in a way? Is there other leaders who aren't authentic? So
it actually wasn't our decision. That's part of our division that we're on. I fucked with it a lot because I'm like, authentic, that's what I'm really all about, is being myself. Again, it's just like, most things about me that are kind of cringy or bad or that might make me seem like a bad decision maker or like, whatever. So for me, that's
I guess part of being authentic is being collaborative, because you're so open with everyone, you want them to be open with you too.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. And it's encouraging authenticity. If you're authentic, you're probably gonna get.
You're not afraid to hold anything back. So your people who you're leading won't be either, and you'll both be better off for it.
I found so much, like, if you choose to open up, and now that I open up a lot more on Instagram and social media, people are so much more willing to open back up. They're willing to engage, and they'll become more. The best, like, one of the best things I did was right before the first time I went on private jet with my boss. I was like, how do people perceive this on Instagram? And I was planning on making my business my page into business, because then you could track insights. Someone told me that. So I did it, and I realized like how people engage with different content that I post. So since that post probably is like still top 5, 10, like most impressions. Everyone wants to see the picture of the private jet. You look cool, blah, blah. But what I was, pleasantly surprised to find was the most engagement I ever get, and still today ever, what I know about my audience and audiences in general, is when you're vulnerable and you tell them authentic shit. So I remember one time on the way back from Pakistan, I was talking about growing up in poverty and kind of the joint family house, no water, and my dad and helping family and being poor, blah, blah. And I never got engagement like ever before like that. Like every homie of mine almost like replied, said something, and stranger, like acquaintances that didn't say anything, that didn't reply to any stories before, felt compelled to say something, right? Probably like 100 replies out of like 300 something people that seen. I'm like, wait, 1 out of 3 people that saw this felt compelled to engage with me, and usually it's like maybe 20.
So there's a power inherent in authenticity that will overall be more productive than if you held things back and tried to portray only the good things, right?
I like how you sum everything up so much better than how I say it.
That's my job. You might lose some people, right? Who's like, oh, this guy doesn't have it all figured out. But overall, it'll be a more productive conversation. You'll get more engaged followers, right? And it'll be more fruitful in all your relationships going forward, and for those people who are
couldn't have said it any better. That's literally key.
All right, man.
It's huge.
Thank you for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me,
everybody.
man.
Yeah,
so
we'll definitely do round 2.
I feel like we have another 2. We got to go Joe Rogan 3 hours, 4 hours.
We didn't even get into everything. I tried to touch on everything we were talking about, but
I talk a lot. You're good at like actually summarizing what I want to say. I love that.
It's a good combination. And I guess I'll be on your podcast in the future. So soon, hopefully too. Yeah, we'll get it done. All right, catch us there. Take care.
Take it easy.